I'm Dylan.
And I'm Kiyan.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we chase around giant ants with a spider in a glass box.
Yay.
Not much more we can really say on that.
That's all we did this week, actually. We didn't watch any episodes.
So we watched them separately again.
Yeah. For the first time since Marco Polo.
The first non-reconstruction we watched separately.
Yes.
Less interpretation and more, what the hell is going on?
And so we watched The Web Planet, and honestly...
The title tells you nothing about it. Okay, continue.
Honestly, the wiki described this serial as sort of strange, compared it to Edge of Destruction, kind of, which made me think I would hate it, but I actually didn't.
Because it was a better Edge of Destruction, and then it became its own thing.
Yeah, it was just the first episode, really, that bared any resemblance to Edge of Destruction, and even then, the only resemblance it really bared was, what's going on? Why don't I understand anything?
Why doesn't the Doctor fix the TARDIS?
But I don't know, did you enjoy this serial?
Yeah, my favorite part was the return of the Doctor's funny hat.
Oh.
Did you notice that?
Pressed in thingy.
The Astrakhan.
Yeah.
The first episode.
Well, yeah, jumping right in, the first episode was actually kind of bad. It kind of, maybe sort of lowered my expectations for the rest of the serial, and maybe that's why I liked the rest of it, but I don't know, it was pretty bad. It was slow moving. It was just really weird, and not that weird is bad, but...
The wiki mentions the first episode had the highest viewership of any Doctor Who episode in the 60s.
It's pretty strange that a lot of people were disappointed in
They
that.
all tuned in for something exciting. Wouldn't be surprised if the second episode had the lowest viewership.
But yeah, this serial was pretty experimental in regards to costumes and special effects and stuff.
And everything.
I don't know. Well,
the sound was experimental. The visual effects
we'll get
was
into
experimental.
The sound. We'll get into the freaking sound.
Everything was experimental during this serial.
But
the great leap forward.
And episode 1
Yes, that was a communist reference.
Episode 1 is where you really notice these sort of changes, whereas, I mean, I got used to them after that, kind of. But in episode 1...
I didn't, because I stopped watching for like 2 days.
Yeah. As soon as they stepped out of the TARDIS, there was this weird effect with, like, the lighting and
like
blurry... semi-annoying, kind of.
Guess to represent they were on an alien planet.
Yeah, something about the atmosphere. Right,
but there was no atmosphere, which means there wouldn't be any light diffraction, which means that the entire effect wouldn't make sense. But
on that note, the Doctor and Ian, when they first leave the TARDIS, they wear these special suits or whatever to help them breathe.
Atmosphere things.
Something, but then Vicky and Barbara go out without anything and they're fine.
Well, Barbara gets pulled out.
Okay, she gets pulled, but she's not wearing them.
While the Doctor and Ian are, like, faffing about somewhere else.
Right.
Running tests or something.
This isn't really a summary yet.
So Vicky has, like, a headache or something. And she doesn't know what aspirin is.
Yeah, there's that whole segment on how crude our medicine technology
Vicky
is.
describes the future where she studied like physics and astronomy and music when she was 10 and she only had to study for an hour a week because she had machines.
Yeah, reminiscent of the clones from episode 2, except 40 years earlier. But yeah, we mentioned this last week, but in the last serial, Vicky didn't get much characterization, even though it was basically her introduction, because of all the comedy. So that was kind of a cool segment with Vicky and Barbara talking about Vicky's time period.
And then there was a reference to actually the Romans where Vicky notices the bracelet that Barbara's wearing that she got from Nero.
Yeah.
Neo.
Neo.
And then Barbara mentions that she was also with Nero, and Vicky doesn't believe her, And she was going to explain it later, but that doesn't happen because...
Because all of a sudden, the Doctor and Ian are out exploring, and then weird stuff starts happening.
Well, the door doesn't open, so the Doctor's like, this ring is more than a ring, you know, Ian.
That was weird. They introduced the Doctor's ring powers in this.
You can open
serial.
the door with... You can do a lot of things with
mentioned
that ring.
later.
That ring becomes a key plot point later, actually.
Yes. But the Doctor and Ian are out exploring, and they're sort of on this barren moonscape of a planet called Vortis. And the Doctor knows a little bit about it.
He hasn't been there.
He mentions that as far as he knew, it only had one moon, or was it no moons? So it was either
like
one or 0 moons. But then they look up at the sky and there's multiple satellites. You know,
Right.
So they're like, that's weird. But they keep exploring, and Ian's holding a gold pen, which just disappears. He's holding it and it disappears.
Wait, I saw it fly away.
Oh, it flew away?
Yeah, that
Okay.
pulled up. Oh, no, well, maybe it disappeared.
I don't remember.
Like a
This is
week
weird,
ago for me.
This is a weird visual effects to the weird light stuff, so who knows what happened to it. But
Where did the Doctor's hat go? He just stops
know.
wearing it after episode 1, I guess.
Huh. The Doctor's hat. Where did it go?
So the Doctor sees like this pool of liquid, and he borrows Ian's Coal Hill school tie.
Yeah, Ian's about to drink from it. He's like, "Oh look, a water source," but
The Doctor takes his tie and dips it in its acid, and the tie gets destroyed, which upsets Ian, I guess.
yeah, and the Doctor's like, "But I saved your life." And which brings me to the point that, did you notice in the first episode, the Doctor was saying, a lot more than he usually
No,
does?
I didn't notice that.
He was saying it after almost every sentence,
He does that usually.
but not as much as in that episode.
Didn't seem out of place for me. It
I don't
seemed
know.
like regular amount. It's his catchphrase.
I get
Every
it's
Doctor has their catchphrase.
But in the first
No,
episode, he says
10th
it
Doctor.
every couple of seconds.
11th Doctor, Geronimo. 10th Doctor, Alon Z. 9th Doctor, Fantastic.
Is the best out of all of those.
4th Doctor, would you like a jelly baby? 3rd Doctor, reverse the polarity of the neutron flow.
When does he get a chance to say that?
I don't know.
Doesn't sound like something you can say very often.
The War Doctor, no more.
Nevermore.
No more.
Nevermore. He just says nevermore and
getting
causes
way off
his
topic.
companions to commit suicide. No.
Way off topic.
Yes, way off topic. That we are. But,
Worst summary ever. Let's attempt to actually proceed with the summary.
okay.
So Barbara gets mind controlled, and she gets taken out of the TARDIS.
Okay, at this point, I want to mention the sound. You know, the sound. The siren, annoying sound that plays constantly for the first 2 episodes.
It's how the Zarbi communicate
I know,
with Animus.
But did you notice that, in the first episode, in the first 2 episodes, it was playing basically constantly?
Because they were basically on screen constantly.
Yeah, but it was so annoying. So, Barbara gets mind controlled by the Zarbi, who emit this weird sound, and she leaves the TARDIS.
And then Vicky wakes up and is like, "No, Barbara! Where'd you go?" And she sees the doors open. She starts flipping switches on the TARDIS control panel.
And
The TARDIS just disappears.
yeah.
Right when the Doctors come back, he's like, "No, they've taken my TARDIS."
And is
End of
that
episode 1 or 2 or something like
one? That was one, I believe.
Probably
and
one.
At that point, do Vicky and Ian and the Doctor reunite? Is that?
that. No, Vicky's in the TARDIS.
Oh right, so they reunite in the what was the thing called? The core, start with a C.
The Zarbi core base thing.
Zarbi core base thing. Yes, that. But
Well, so Ian and the Doctor... Well, the Doctor's like, "Oh, well, after a while, these suits just become useless. Let's take them off."
good going.
Then take them off.
They introduce a lot of the Doctor's weird technology in this serial, including his ring.
They've decided to make the Doctor seem more alien, I guess.
I don't know. I really liked the Doctor in this serial. He played a larger role than he normally does, and he did some pretty cool stuff later on in the serial. So...
Oh yeah, Barbara's also a killer at the end of the serial, which we'll get to. She kills the animals.
Oh, spoiler. With Ian's help. But, anyway...
Okay, so we somehow got through episode 1. Now we'll try to proceed to the other 5 episodes in an orderly fashion.
Surprised I got through actually watching episode 2 because of the annoying siren sound.
Okay, so Ian and the Doctor are like trying to find Barbara or Vicky, because they heard Vicky screaming for Barbara before Vicky disappeared in the TARDIS. And then the zombies show up.
And we forgot to mention that there's also that echo-ish sound. It was kind of...
They reverbed the sound or echoed it when they're outside.
Yeah, but they didn't... What I thought was weird was they didn't always do it. They did it like in the first 2 episodes, and then like a few times in episode 4, and
they did it in episode 6.
5.
I noticed it in episode 6.
At the end?
Yeah.
I didn't notice it then, but I don't know. It was really noticeable in the first 2. But yeah, the Zarbi show up, and this is the first instance of the 3, technically 4, different types of aliens introduced in this serial. The Zarbi are basically giant ants.
You could tell they're also people in ant suits. As a side note.
Yeah, you can see their human legs sticking out that look like they're just wearing pants and shoes.
Black pants. At least they made an effort.
Yeah. But to be honest, I sort of liked/hated the costumes in this episode. I liked the Zarbi costumes, first of all.
Oh, I liked the Menoptera costumes.
I liked the Menoptera costumes too, but I hated the Optera costumes.
I liked the Optera costumes.
What?
The only ones I didn't like were the Zarbi.
Really? You didn't like the Zarbi? Because
No.
I thought the ant part of the Zarbi costume actually looked pretty detailed and realistic.
Yeah, but I feel like they put less effort into the Zarbi costume compared to, like, the Menoptera had the really detailed wings.
Okay, well, the Menoptera were
Optera
obviously the
had
best costumes.
Had the lines, and they had the attempt at making it look like they had 4 arms.
Okay,
and the larva guns had lots of little legs.
We'll get to the Optera and the larva guns.
So Barbara has met the Menoptera at this point.
Yeah. And
which are like these creatures that look like bees.
They look like humanoid bees, and
they always move their hands. Their hands are always moving.
Yeah. And they have this weird speech quirk or whatever, where they speak in this weird...
They speak like Captain Kirk on the original series of Star Trek.
But not only that, they have these weird sort of accents where they're like... I don't know, where it's kind of contemplative, where they're like, I don't know what we should do. Why?
With their hands moving.
Yes. But their costumes did look
to the
really
surface, cool. There will be light that will be good and not evil. Okay.
And I wanted to mention regarding the Menoptera, something that hasn't really been an issue since the beginning of season 1, but that was an issue for me in this serial, was that all the Menoptera looked the same, costume-wise. Basically, I think there were some minor differences to their faces, and obviously their heights were different, but I really couldn't tell any of them apart, which hasn't really been an issue for me.
I don't think you needed to.
You didn't need to, but they did have names and specific personalities to each of them.
Like 4 of them had names. Hunda, Rostar, and Preston.
Okay, but they had specific personalities to each of them, and when you can't tell who's who when they're on screen at once, it's kind of... I don't know, I would have liked if I could tell them apart more. Okay.
So, anyway.
So, Barbara's with the Menoptera, and they're in this sort of cave, and the Menoptera are scared of the Zarbi.
Because the Zarbi are, like, way more powerful than the Menoptera, but the Menoptera have wings.
Yes, the Menoptera can fly. And, I don't know, I really liked their flying...
Yeah, they're flying... We'll get there.
Okay, we'll get there. Try not to be any more disjointed than we already are. But at that point, I think the Menoptera telling Barbara how they're trying to they're trying to invade Vortis because it was taken over by the Zarbi, who they used to coexist with.
Right.
But an alien species called the Animus.
It's not a species, it's just one.
Oh, it's just one?
It's just one.
Okay. As revealed by the wiki. Kind of thought it was
and later retconned.
Yeah. But this being, I guess, called the Animus, took control of the Zarbi's minds, and
the larva guns.
Weren't the larva guns just young Zarbi? I think they mentioned that in like 5 or 6 or something. It was like
I thought they were like an entirely separate species.
I could have sworn they referred to them as they're young, referring to the Zarbi and the larva guns as they're young. But I don't know.
I didn't.
We can look that up when we get there. But basically, the Animus is controlling the Zarbi, and it drove the Menoptera out off of their planet.
Right.
And now they're stationed on a moon of some sort, and they're planning to reinvade Vortis, or retake Vortis from the Animus.
Right.
Which they haven't been able to defeat so far, but they've created a bomb. It's not really a bomb, but they created a device that can kill the Animus, basically. But some Zarbi show up and kill one of them.
Well, see, I could have sworn when I watched it, 2 of them died, and
same.
1 of them escaped.
Yeah.
But then in the next episode, one of them mentioned that only 1 died. And then 2 episodes, in the 5th episode, one of them called one of the other Menoptera by the name of someone who I had written down had died. Which, I guess, so only 1 died, I suppose. And the other one just got knocked out.
Possible retcon here? I mean, I don't know. I thought 2 of them died as well. But they apparently, or supposedly, the Zarbi take 2 of the Menoptera. No, 1 of the Menoptera and Barbara to what was it called? It's the Animus's base. Okay, the Crater of Needles was where they take them, but the Animus's base or whatever had a name. And I thought it was a really cool name too.
The Carcinome?
Yeah, the Carcinome. And basically what the Animus does to the planet is it siphons off all the water to itself, I guess.
Yeah. And
it spreads its quote-unquote web, the Carcinome. And,
around the planet.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, the Doctor and Vicky are at one of the surface Carcinome bases.
Yeah. Aren't they all on the surface? Well, I know they're connected underground, but...
Yeah, I guess.
And
they're there, and then this thing descends from the ceiling, this tube, and covers...
Isn't Ian there at that point?
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah.
He's with them.
And the Doctor's trying to communicate with the Zarbi first. And at first he's like, there's no possible way to communicate with them. And then when it cuts back to the Doctor, he's like doing all these weird hand motions, telling them to stay out of the TARDIS. They find
when
the
I
TARDIS.
saw those hand motions, I thought he was telling Ian to knock them out and they would escape, because he was moving his elbows like he was gonna knock out the Zarbi, and then pointing at Ian. And then Ian was like, I guess he's still trying to communicate with him. And I was like, wait, what?
No, I thought he was motioning to the Zarbi that they shouldn't go into the TARDIS, and that he and Ian and Vicky were going to go in the TARDIS and leave. and abandon Barbara. No.
They just leave Barbara on this alien planet to die. And then the tube descends from the ceiling, and the Doctor, this voice says, why do you come now? And then that's the end of episode 2.
Yes. And, I don't know, the Animus voice, which I guess, spoiler, is what that is, sounded like a man to me, but then in the credits, a few episodes later, I was actually paying attention to the credits, and I saw that it was a woman doing the voiceover for the Animus, and I was like, huh, that's weird.
I always thought it was a female. The only time I paid attention to the credits was when I was writing down the names of the Menoptera I thought died.
Yeah.
The only one that I got that actually died was Hunda. Hunda. I thought Rostar died, but she dies later.
Isn't Rostar a guy?
Oh shoot, you might be right.
Anyway.
Episode 3. I didn't pay attention to this episode at all. Was counting coins.
Nice. Basically,
I just remember the astral map, and I don't know what happened with Barbara or Ian. Ian fell.
That's at the end. Basically, episode 3 starts off with the Animus communicating with the Doctor, and we learn that the Animus is a skeptical...
Oh yeah, I remember the Animus then didn't believe that it needed the Doctor, so tried shooting at the TARDIS, but then the shield had come up because somehow Vicky had realigned the fluid link, that tiny piece that had failed during the Daleks way back in season 1.
Yeah, so the Animus tries to kill the Doctor and friends, but the Doctor's like, I have information that you might need, which he does, but I guess he was taking a gamble there. But basically, the Doctor informs he gets his astral map out from the TARDIS, and he informs the Animus about the coming Menoptera invasion force that's going to try and take back Vortis. And so the Animus keeps the Doctor and Vicky and Ian alive because the Doctor's a source of information. But it really wants to kill them, like threatens to do it multiple times. But at that point, the Zarbi, I think, introduce this device that it looks like a giant tuning fork, kind of, or a wishbone, which when put on when put on someone, kind of zombifies them. It just sort of not nullifies, but numbs them.
Yeah, they put one on one of the Menoptera when they were battling them with Barbara.
And then they put one on one of the Zarbi, which becomes a major
plot
point later. But they use that on Vicky, I think it was, but she I guess takes it off. Anyway.
How does Ian escape?
I don't remember, he just does.
Well, side note, it says the larva gun served the Zarbi. It says nothing about them.
It did. Go back to the larva gun. See? They were also mentioned as being Zarbi larvae.
That doesn't make any sense because the Zarbi didn't have guns on them, but the larva did.
Yeah, that's why I was like, they're young or more powerful.
It doesn't
even that brutal death of one of the larva guns at the hands of the Menoptera. Anyway, we'll get there.
Episode 3 was called Escape to Danger, which confused me.
It makes sense at the end.
How does... I don't know how Ian escapes.
I think they distract.
Oh, they somehow, take away the power of the room so Ian escapes. Because they're like, Doctor, if you betray us, we'll kill you.
Yes,
Ian escapes.
I vaguely remember this science mumbo-jumbo, which resulted in Ian running away. But yes, Ian escapes the carcinome.
Ian kills a Zarbi. Triggers an alarm.
Out of pure-blooded hatred for ants. No.
And then he escapes the alarm. And this makes Ian the second companion just to brutally murder someone or something.
It's better than Barbara killing the,
everything, ever.
No, but those, the
Morpho
death was just bad.
And then Barbara ran over a Dalek. And then in this serial, you'll get I might have mentioned it already.
Okay, I can forgive her for what she did at the end of this serial.
So Ian gets saved by a Menoptera, who turns out to be Reston, who escaped the ambush on the 3 Menoptera that were with Barbara.
Right, and Reston reveals to Ian their sort of history, and at that point, it's revealed that the Animus has been on Vortis for like hundreds of years or something like that, or thousands of years, which I didn't think was the case until then. It never really said, but I kind of just assumed it was recent.
Oh, this is the part where Vicky just gets that box with the spider in.
Oh, yeah.
And I completely missed and didn't understand.
It's because the doctor tells Vicky to go get something to attach to the astral map. And he tells her where and what it is, but she accidentally gets the spider thing, right? And that's when they find out that the Zarbi are afraid of it. So, yes, when Vicky holds up the spider in the glass box, the Zarbi are like...
Guess I missed that.
It's my imitation of the siren sound. But yes, it numbs them and causes them to
die.
I don't think it causes them to die. I think it just causes them to cower in
like
fear.
I said, I didn't really pay attention to this episode.
Yes, but
dun dun
Vrestin,
dun, dun.
Vrestin then tells Ian, cutting back to them, Vrestin then tells Ian that I guess Vrestin was a woman.
I thought Vrestin was a male. Oh, jeez.
Vrestin tells Ian that, okay, let's see, looking it up.
Nope, doesn't...
Yeah.
Oh, she. Okay.
Yeah. Vrestin tells Ian that one of her friends was taken to the Crater of Needles.
Hellstar.
Yes, and
With Barbara.
that's where the discrepancy showed up, where we thought two of them died, but I guess it was only one, but
I definitely feel like the writer just wasn't paying attention to his own work at that point, or he was retconning it.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it was a retcon. But they are attacked by some Zarbi, and they fall down into a pit.
Surprisingly not dying.
Yes, and that's the end of episode 3, the cliffhanger ending where they fall.
Literally. Cliffhanger.
Hey. But in the next episode, they wake up underground, unharmed, and there's Ian and Vrestin are just sort of exploring underground, where they meet the Optera.
They don't get a name till episode 5.
Yeah, they don't. And basically,
who also speak like Captain Kirk, but their voices are
gruffer voices.
Yes,
like this.
More like. You go, I stay.
But what the Optera are, basically, are evolved, or I guess devolved, forms of the Menoptera, who, I guess...
They got trapped underground, so the wings kind of evolved away because they weren't useful underground, and they evolved those hard shells because they're underground.
Yeah, and despite the fact that I liked the other alien costumes and the Carcinome, set, I actually really hated the Optera costumes.
I liked them. I thought they looked better than the Zarbi costumes, in my opinion.
Well, they were more intricate, definitely, than the Zarbi costumes, because the Zarbi costumes were just basically ant costumes. But, I don't know, I felt like the sort of, the tentacle things on their heads and, like, their shells looked really low quality compared to the other costumes. They just looked like cloth and...
The only thing that looked like it might have been cloth to me was the things on their heads. But on the same token, to me, the Zarbi looked like they were just pieces of cardboard that had been painted black.
I don't know. I just felt the Zarbi costumes were, I don't know, realistic and they looked good, but I just didn't find the Optera costumes to be that great, to be honest. Yeah. Because the shells kind of looked like they were just drawn on haphazardly, I
disagree. Looked pretty good to me.
Well, that's up to the viewer.
All 9 of our viewers to decide.
Yes. Send in whether you agree with Kiyan or Dylan. Were the Optera costumes good, or did they suck?
We'll mention that again at the end.
Yes.
So Barbara is at the Crater of Needles with Hellstar.
I guess it's a work camp, sort of, for the Animus. They were collecting, or they were... What were they
I don't even know.
They mentioned it, but I forgot
what it was. The only thing I remember was that they tore off the Menoptera's wings so they couldn't fly away.
Yeah.
Sounds like torture to me.
Yeah. And they're like, I will never fly again.
Barbara, are your wings healed? I will never fly again.
Nice going, Barbara. Thanks for bringing that up.
He's like, wow, Barbara.
But they're collecting something in the Crater of Needles.
And then the doctor tells Vicky to get his cane. But then the alarm goes off at the Crater of Needles because the doctor has told the Animus the Menoptera amassing
At the
at Manassas.
at the
Battle of Manassas.
It's some sort of plateau where they're sending an invasion force or something. And
Spearhead.
yeah, and the Menoptera that's with Vicky is like, or no, the Menoptera that's with Barbara. It rather is.
Very confusing.
They're talking about the doctor, and Barbara's like, no, the doctor would never give away your rendezvous point.
But he did!
So at that point, Barbara and whatever the Menoptera's name is that she's with, Rostar. Barbara and Rostar try to go to the plateau and rendezvous with
the Spearhead. And a whole massacre.
Yeah, they show up at the Spearhead. The Spearhead shows up at the rendezvous point. Zarbi die. Menoptera die, rather.
We haven't been keeping track of the death count while we've been saying this, but at the end of this, they're like 73 or something.
Yes. Many Menoptera and Zarbi die. And on the way there, there's this scene that really stood out to me. Because so far, it had seemed like the Menoptera were basically peace-loving or, like, peaceful. But on the way there, they see this larva gun. And they're like, we have to get past it somehow. So one of the Menoptera just picks it up and smashes it against a wall until it dies. And I was like, wow, Menoptera. It's pretty violent.
When the Menoptera showed up, it looked like they had guns in their hands that were completely useless.
Yeah.
It didn't even look like they shot anything.
And later they mentioned that their guns didn't work on the Zarbi for some reason. And yeah. 4 Menoptera survive the massacre, and Barbara does too, and they run back into the carcinome, or there's
a cave.
Oh yeah,
one of them I think Barbara falls against the wall, and the wall gives way.
Yeah. Meanwhile, though, back underground, Ian and Vreston are
and the Optera.
They're trying to tell the Optera about what's going on above ground. And their leader is really skeptical. He doesn't want to go above ground, and he doesn't want anyone else to either, because they're afraid of the light or whatever. But Vreston and Ian convince the leader to come up with them so that they can reunite with everyone. And
you're skipping the part where one of the Optera died.
Oh yeah. They
This is like into episode 5 at this point.
But one of the Optera, I guess, has his face
acid
burned off.
Just dies.
Yeah. Because the Animus, I guess, is like siphoning off their water supply, as it has been. Freaking Animus.
Vreston, Ian, and that dude climb up, and also the Doctor and Vicky have had the tuning forks put on their necks. But before that, when the alarm sounded, the Doctor used the astral map and some sketchy science to reverse the polarity or reverse
he
the
basically
flow.
Short circuits the tuning fork thing and makes it not work anymore. So Vicky helps the Doctor, and they escape.
Yeah, because they put the non-working one on Vicky. She takes it off. She takes the Doctor's off. They escape with a Zarbi.
Yeah, they put one of the tuning fork things on a Zarbi.
And the Doctor's ring can control it.
Yeah. And they decide to just keep it around in case it comes in useful, which it does. And Vicky names it. I forgot what she named
Zombo.
it. Zombo, yes. And she's like, isn't it cute, Doctor? And the Doctor's like, well, I hadn't considered it until you mentioned it right now, but no.
It's my favorite scene, actually. Yeah. I hadn't considered it, but no, he isn't.
But,
So they all end up in one of the temples of light.
which I guess is sort of like, it's one of the Menoptra's sort of temples to their gods /
Yeah, I thought they worshipped, like, the light as a god, is how I interpreted everything.
Oh, yeah, maybe that might be true, because...
Which is why they built, like, the Temple of Light, and why the Optera, like, the light is evil.
Yeah.
How our gods see us, the light is evil.
Yeah. But I thought the Temple of Light was also sort of like their resting ground or whatever, or their graveyard sort of thing.
It had been lost for centuries.
Yeah.
Good Barbara just stumbled upon it. Yeah, Barbara.
That's when they meet up with... They're trying to make a plan to use the device that the Spearhead brought to destroy the Animus.
The Isoptope.
Yes, the Isoptope.
Really annoying to pronounce, actually.
I don't know, I really like that name. Isoptope. And then I also like the carcinome. But Vicky and the Doctor show up, and they create a plan to divert attention from the Animus, while the Doctor takes the Isoptope and destroys the Animus.
Right. And then one of the Menoptra takes the Doctor's ring to control the Zarbi.
Yeah, they're sort of hesitant to trust the Doctor with the Isoptope, which is understandable, since he's like, hey, just give it to me.
Kind of a loose cannon.
Yeah. But it all works out in the end, so I guess it's okay. At that point...
So, the Doctor and Vicky go back to the carcinome and get captured, obviously. And the Animus is like, why do you leave? I must have your intelligence.
Right,
I'm taking you to my core now.
So they show up at the Animus core, and this is the first time you see the Animus.
Well, first Vicky hides the Isoptope in the astral map.
Right, and
that's a key plot point.
They leave it there.
Yeah.
Nice going.
Yeah, nice, Vicky. Nice.
So that's there. And they go to the Animus core, and you finally see the Animus. And I guess it's supposed to look like a spider. Vicky calls it a spider, and I guess that's why the Zarbi were also afraid of the little spider in the glass box. But it didn't look like a spider to me, really. It looked like those...
Looked like a brain to me.
A brain? I thought it looked like those...
A brain with tentacles.
Yeah. With tentacles. Ew, imagine, like, coming out of your head. Anyway, it looked to me like... You know those things in the Matrix? The underwater zappy things that Neo kills somehow?
Second week in a row we've made a Matrix reference.
Yes.
No Tagana reference yet.
And a Matrix spoiler now. But, it looked like that to me, kind of. But, I don't know. I really liked the Animus design, actually. It wasn't that prevalent, but I really liked the tentacle wire thingies coming out of it. And I guess I really like the concept of the Animus, too. Like a parasitic life form that just destroys planets and stuff. It's pretty cool. I mean, not that I want to have that happen, but...
In a comic, it gets transported to London of 1888 and rebuilds itself.
Oh, what?
The first Doctor has to defeat it again.
Sounds pretty cool, actually. It's a pretty good villain. Not surprised they used it again.
In a comic.
It was really evil, yeah. And then they retconned it into later. Yes.
We'll talk about that when we finish the summary, if we ever get there.
If we ever finish. But, the Doctor and Vicky are sort of under the Animus's control, and the Animus is like, I need the Doctor's intelligence, and it's like siphoning off his brain or something.
His Time Lord brain.
Yes. And they're sort of just, they're weak under the Animus's control. And Barbara and the rest of the Menoptra find the Isoptope.
The astral map, because they try to communicate with High Command, Starfleet Command. I don't know what it was called.
And doesn't really work. But
surprise.
Surprise, surprise, something from the TARDIS doesn't work. What else is new? But anyway, they show up at the Animus core, and Barbara has to use the isotope to destroy the Animus, but she can't because she's starting to fall under its control. And then Ian shows up.
He just busts through the floor. Like, surprise.
Yeah, apparently the Optera were living right under the Animus. And...
It's me, Ian.
And then...
Just have a spin-off just about Ian.
It'd be cool. He's a good character. I'm gonna be sad when he leaves. I don't know when he leaves, but I feel like it's coming up any serial now. Don't spoil it. I know you know.
On accident.
Yeah.
Again. Need to really stop accidentally looking at these things.
We need to stop going to... We
The
need to stop...
future.
Yes. We need to stop going to the future and watching Doctor Who in the future and spoiling it for ourselves. But...
12th
anyway.
Doctor gets shot, guys. I don't even know the 12th Doctor hasn't even aired his first episode.
What if that turns out to be true and people watching this later down the line are like, wow. Like those bold spoilers we read today.
Wasn't a spoiler for me.
Okay, it was a spoiler for me. It was a giant paragraph about, like, the reboot. And the spoilers were all in bold. I was like, what?
River Song.
Anyway.
It was just a fan theory. That's not actually what happened, by the way. The thing in bold was just a fan theory.
Okay, but still.
Off topic again.
Yes. And we're almost at the end, though. So Ian shows up, and Barbara, I guess, snaps out of control. Not out of control, but she snaps out of the Animus's control. Barbara, out of control.
Spin-off.
Should have a spin-off about every companion. But no, Barbara uses the isotope, the Animus dies, and they all live happily ever after.
Oh, Rostar's already died at this point.
Oh yeah, Rostar died!
He died trying to kill a larva gun.
By the way, guys, Rostar died.
He died trying to put the tuning fork on a larva gun, which then it killed him.
Yeah, the larva guns are overpowered, and then they grow up into the Zarbi.
Which are completely underpowered.
Yeah.
If this was an RPG, I would be complaining to the developer.
The more you
progress through the game, the weaker you get.
But the Animus is now dead.
And then there's like 6 minutes of them
Yeah.
rebuilding society, I guess.
Not rebuilding society, just saying, look, water. We will forever speak of these humans' deeds.
For whatever reason, seeing the Optera just jump around outside in the light made me really happy for some reason.
What? I don't know. I thought that was
They looked like they were really
strange.
happy,
Yeah, they did.
which made me happy.
It's good. But
And then Ian complains about his tie again.
yeah, that was kind of weird how they brought that back up right at the last minute, right before they
Doctor,
left.
you destroyed my tie. It was black with green stripes. Just so that if anybody in the future decides to recolor the episodes, they could recolor his tie accurately, I guess. And yeah,
Yeah,
they leave.
They leave. That's the end.
we finally made it through that summary. It only took us like 25 minutes, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know how long it's been, actually. We forgot to mention that the bracelet that Barbara got from Neo, it's actually been 43 minutes.
From Neo.
From Nero, it gets destroyed. The Menoptera take it and it gets destroyed.
Because apparently they had this weird segment where they talked about gold, how it was a symbol of wealth or something. Which it is. They talked about how gold was a symbol of wealth on Vortis, which it is on this planet too, so I don't know. I didn't find that strange. They were talking about it as if it was strange that it was a symbol of wealth, kind of.
There's a lot of parallels, I feel, between this episode and the Cold War.
What? What?
Hear me out. The Menoptera, United States.
What?
The Zarbi, or like Afghanistan.
What?
And the Animus
What?
is the Soviet Union.
What?
The Soviet Union went into Afghanistan, controlled all the peeps, and the US couldn't invade because guerrilla warfare.
Okay.
But I feel like that only happened in like the 80s, so I'm drawing dots where they don't exist.
Yeah, I don't see the connection, like, at all. Sorry, but I just don't see it.
So, the Animus gets retconned later to be a great old one from the Cthulhu mythos by H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, I've never read any of those. Have you?
Neither have I.
Apparently,
but it was interesting because other great old ones are the Great Intelligence, who the second Doctor faces, but who's also resurfaced in season 7 of the reboot, which I'm almost done with. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting, and to be honest, I think the Animus is my favorite villain so far. I mean,
Even more than Tagana?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. It was more evil. Well, really? Tagana was evil in like a human sense, that he was manipulative and just an evil person, but the Animus was just like evil itself.
The Animus didn't do anything. It didn't kill the Doctor like it was going to, and it kept double backing on itself.
Yeah, but it still felt so evil how it like controls planets and like siphons off everything and destroys stuff in its wake.
The Daleks, the best villain.
The Daleks,
especially when they start turning people into Daleks. That happens in the reboot.
Okay, the Daleks are kind of incompetent, though. You have to admit.
They're on wheels. They can't go upstairs.
And their field of vision sucks.
Okay, both of those are fixed in the reboot. The Daleks can fly.
Oh, geez.
And they can clean their eyepieces. Because both of those are fixed.
They can fly?
Yeah.
That just seems OP.
That actually huge fan out lash, but they haven't retconned it, so the Daleks can fly.
That actually brings them from being not as menacing as some of the other villains to pretty menacing. But no, I mean, yeah, I think I did like the Animus as my favorite. Yes, that's how the Menoptera said it, Animus.
Except that one Menoptera who's just like Animus.
Yeah, there was one Menoptera who just spoke normally, and I was like, wow, thanks for ruining it, actor. Forgot who it was. But what if the Animus just turned out to be a moose? And it's like a super evolved form of moose. It takes place that the serial takes place in the future. That meese are now the dominant species on Earth.
Plural of moose.
Whatever. And that they've journeyed into space.
No, it's moose.
And they take control of planets.
No. It's terrible.
It's a good idea.
So I wanted to mention the acting was pretty good. Like, I felt like each species was distinctly different.
Yeah, like the Zarbi.
Yeah.
And there's freaking sirens.
But, like, the actors for each one acted differently from the actors of the other species. Like, they adopted their role, like, a lot better than in previous serials.
Except that one Menoptera.
Yeah, that...
One guy kind of ruined it. Thanks.
There was another styrofoam cave. Ian was holding up that styrofoam block that was the cave.
You know, I kind of want to talk about the sets, actually. I thought the sets in this serial were actually really good. I mean, even the cave,
Yeah, it was really good. The only problem I noticed was one scene where the Doctor and Vicky were walking and their shadows fell on the backdrop and ruined the illusion that it was like a vast plane because the shadow was at an angle like it was a painting. And that was the only time that the illusion was broken for me.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. But I don't know, I
only noticed it because nothing was happening in the scene, and then I saw their shadow. I was like, wait, that's not how that works.
but no, I really liked the moonscape sort of feel, and then I also liked the carcinome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went all out on this serial.
Yeah, they did with the special effects and costumes.
The next serial is going to be terrible, isn't it? What came after the Daleks? What did come after the Daleks?
To the internet.
It was the third serial. It was Edge of Destruction.
No.
Yeah, it was Edge of Destruction.
Oh, dang it, what's going to come after this?
Oh, gosh.
After this is the
Crusade.
Chase? No, the Crusade.
The Chase is the second to last serial of this season. It's another Dalek serial, by the way.
Oh, joy.
The Crusade is next. So this was sandwiched between two historical serials.
Mm-hmm. This was probably...
I still like Sensorites better.
Still like Sensorites better? I don't know. I can't really decide. I've actually been thinking about it for a while, whether I like Sensorites or this better.
Maybe after you watch The Crusade, you'll be able to decide.
Maybe. But yes, overall, a lot of annoying aspects to this serial, to be honest, but a lot of really good ones too.
Highest average viewing figure, 13.5 million. Respectable for 1965.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about... Some people believed it tried to extend the possibilities of Doctor Who, and others felt it was overambitious.
I don't...
Thoughts?
What do you think they mean by extend the possibilities?
Because of all the technical aspects. Like, it had a lot of really detailed sets, as well as a lot of technical mumbo-jumbo, obviously.
I don't know, and
a lot of new species and costumes that they'd never be able to reuse again.
It's true.
As they reshot Planet of the Giants with added ants.
Well, I don't know. As I've said a bunch of times already, I really liked the sets, costumes, and the effects were The audio effects and the visual effects were okay.
The larva guns.
The larva guns look pretty cool.
They didn't use the Dalek invert the film.
Yeah,
they actually had like laser bolts.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
But it's true that they also did have a lot of fake science to explain stuff in this serial, which I was kind of okay with, but at the same time, it would be better. It would have been better if they actually had stuff that made sense in place of go get that thing that attaches to this that does stuff. Oh yeah, the astral map also can contact radio frequencies on the moon.
I feel like that's why it didn't work, because it's not designed to do that. But I enjoyed that, because we found out more about the TARDIS, and finding about the one character that's not really a character, but is there in every episode.
I'm telling you, spin-off about the TARDIS.
It would be terrible.
It's the main TARDIS is the main character.
Terrible.
You never know. There are tons of things that are terrible in concept, but that are actually good when you watch them.
Like what?
Doctor Who. I mean, think about it. Think of the premise. A doctor goes on adventures.
It's not a doctor, though.
A guy goes on adventures with other people through space and time.
It's a pretty good premise.
But it could have been bad. But
no!
But it wasn't.
A bad premise would be like... National treasure. Steal the Declaration and find a hidden code. It's a terrible premise.
Yeah, and it wasn't that good either. Which I guess is your point.
Exactly.
But it was passable. It was passable. It wasn't terrible. Maybe the second one was.
The second one was worse. But the assassination of Abraham Lincoln got involved.
But the first one was
terrible. No,
it wasn't.
Really.
It was
bad, but it wasn't.
It was mediocre. It wasn't good. It wasn't great.
You know what is also a terrible thing?
What?
Remake movies, but starring Nicolas Cage instead. Like Wicker Man. Was stolen. The terrible Taken knockoff. With Nicolas Cage. Or Fire with Fire. See, all these are bad premises.
No,
I mean, that's a bad movies.
By next week, I will think of movies or shows or things with bad premises that are actually good.
Fine.
There are a lot.
I don't believe you. I guess we'll see.
We will see.
Email us.
And tell us whether the Optera costumes were crap
that would require watching the
good.
Episode. Or you could just Google Optera. Optera. The Doctor at DecorativeVegetable.com. No one emailed us this week.
Sadly.
I feel like we get an email every 3 weeks, and then they hear our response and they're like, eh. They just don't email, and then they email.
I'd like to take this opportunity to say that every week we don't get an email, I cry myself to sleep. No, I don't.
Whoa.
No.
Or draw a stick there.
No, I actually don't. Unless I do.
We should start aggressively advertising this podcast. Tell all your friends. Post it on Facebook. Post it on MySpace if you still have a MySpace. Post it on Twitter.
Post it on
Reddit. Google Plus. Dig. Tumblr. All of these are viable
Forbes
advertising mediums, of which I'm only active on 2 of those.
Yes, do that. Create your own podcast.
No.
Where you advertise for us.
Then we'd have competition. That would be bad.
Create your own completely unrelated podcast where you mention this one in a completely shameless plug.
We're shamelessly plugging ourselves right now to the 9 people who watch who really don't need to hear this.
Yeah.
So next week, The Crusade.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that. Guess we'll see how that plays out next week. But until then, the end.